We caught them red-handed. We knew that Clemson lost to South Carolina because South Carolina cheated. They got their information from Michigan. They did. They got it. I'm going to dive into that crap belief in just a second. First, hey, I'm Brian. I'm not Bobby. Thank you for joining me on the channel. If you're new or maybe you've been watching for a while, you've never subscribed, I hope you subscribe. It's free and hit the thumbs up. Also, if you want to support the channel on a monthly basis, there is a join button below. It's so flipping cheap. You won't even with inflation, you'll be like, oh my God, that's nothing. So I do appreciate it. All right. So you're like, how stupid. You're annoying. Tell me what's going on. Now, I try not to jump the gun on this. I've jumped the gun on some other things that I still think will materialize, but this one I've waited a few days. Let me give you the non-boring version. Michigan supposedly had a guy. Jim Harbaugh says he knew nothing about it, but supposedly had some type of analyst who was purchasing tickets to go to other games of other teams, all right? Michigan opponents, and then supposedly teams that could possibly wreck Michigan's chance of making it to the playoff last year. And back in 1994, a lot of people don't know this, but back in 1994, the NCAA passed this regulation that you cannot travel to other teams' stadiums and steal their signals. Now, if in your game you're watching, their signals and you figure out what it is, you can steal it. There is nothing against stealing a signal of another team. All right? But you can't go to their games that you're not playing against them and steal their signals. Now, I will tell you this, and I put a link in here. I normally don't read the Washington Post, but I thought it laid it out very well. Put a link in the live chat here. The NCAA, to my knowledge, and to the Washington Post knowledge, does not have a penalty for stealing signals. So it's like when you're watching a football game and there's a hold on the play, we know it's a 10-yard penalty. Roughing the passer, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down. The NCAA doesn't have anything laid out for this. And then I heard the FBI is getting involved. The FBI does not need to be involved in a game. Well, that's so they can get the access to the computers legal. The FBI should be focusing on crime. This is a flipping game. Sorry, guys. They should be doing something else. How does Clemson come into this? All right. So this guy supposedly came to a game at Clemson, stole the signals, passed them along to the South Carolina Gamecocks. He supposedly did it to Tennessee as well. I think Georgia was on the list. Please correct me if I'm wrong. It didn't bother Georgia. They never got to see Georgia. That's another little thing about this. But just getting to the point, this information was passed along to our feathered foe down in Columbia, South Carolina, allegedly. And that is the reason Clemson lost to South Carolina. That is the reason that Tennessee lost by 900 points to South Carolina. A South Carolina team who just got their head ripped off the week before by Florida. Lost to Missouri last year. There's one problem with this. Now, let me go ahead and say, can signal stealing affect a game? Yes. But this is one time that I agree with Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders said, my team can mail me my game plan. They still got to stop it. I agree with that. It can affect a game. But for us Clemson fans, I tell you where this is going in the Clemson community. I can tell you exactly where this is going to the Clemson community, and I'm going to spit it out. We are trying to figure out why our football team is no longer dominant. And this is the easiest low-hanging fruit to pick so we can blame someone else. The reason Clemson lost that football game to South Carolina last year, I was at the game. My oldest son because of his grandfather, who was a friend of mine. He's a Gamecock. I told him, it doesn't even make sense that you're a Gamecock. You're one of the nicest people in the world. I'm not saying all Gamecocks are not nice, but there's a lot of them are just not the easiest people to deal with. Once again, not all of them. I have some friends who their kids go to school there. They're sweet people. All right. So it's not all of them. I want to make that very clear. But my oldest son, he and I went to the South Carolina and Clemson game, and at the end, he turned and he looked at me, and you know what he asked me? He goes, "Why did y'all stop running the football? We couldn't stop it." Signal stealing. Yep, that's it. Brandon Streeter knew that there was signal. Why did we fumble the ball like crazy? Signal stealing. Signal stealing. Instead of actually addressing the issue of poor coaching hires at the position level, especially on the offense for Clemson, let's find someone else. Now, I'm going to pause there. Has Sweeney come out and said, "Oh, yeah, that's the reason"? No, he hasn't. Nick Saban was on the Pat McAfee show, and he said something that was fantastic. Hey, the whole mic and speaker system that the NFL has, if we could do that in college football, that would fix this. Well, Brian, what about those poor underfunded schools that they can't afford it? You always figure out a way to afford something. A lot of these schools, they always figure out how to have some dumb statue or some dumb monument built that nobody cares about. How about we take that money and put it towards a helmet? Which the game. Yeah, I know. Probably get more use out of it other than that monument everybody has to act like they care about. The point here is Clemson did not lose that game to South Carolina because of signal stealing. They were and anybody going, well, the idea was to derail any chance that a team could have of going into the college football play. Clemson had just lost to Notre Dame by 21 points. They didn't need any help to stay out of the college football playoff. Clemson lost because of poor coaching. Period. And the next thing that I want to throw out here, I said this yesterday. And I'm going to say it again. And then I'm going to go. Somebody has it out for Jim Harbaugh. I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't know Jim Harbaugh. I'm not a fanboy over here. But just as soon as these self-imposed sanctions and suspension is over, this comes out. Ron, are you a conspiracy theorist? By definition, by a lot of people, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep, I am. By the new definition, but it used to be called I look at history, I see the tendencies of human beings, and then I judge moving forward. I'm not saying he's not guilty of anything, but I am saying you should, even if you disagree with me wholeheartedly, give me 10 seconds. Give me 10 seconds that you'll consider it. This is over, and then this starts up. The first part is over, the suspension's up and all that, but and now he's pissed off somebody. There's also, it might be in that Washington Post article as well, that it said that 75% of the teams do it in some form or fashion. So, well, folks, thank you so much for joining me. We have a game tomorrow, and I don't think Michigan gave signals to Duke, Florida State, or Miami So that doesn't wash that away. Hopefully, NC State hasn't got their hands on it because, quite honestly, all they have to do is just wait for, well, us just to show up and play uninspired, undeveloped football, and the coin might be flipped up and land their way. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, go Tigers.